I don't remember the exact moment the war began for me. Wars rarely start with a clear line in the sand. They seep into your life quietly, like radiation, until suddenly everything you were before no longer exists. For me, it began on Earth, in a forgotten border city already half destroyed by orbital strikes. I was a ground fighter, nothing special, just another soldier trained to hold a rifle, follow orders, and die if necessary. The aliens had arrived 3 years earlier. They called themselves the Carvel, a vast interstellar empire ruled not by councils or machines, but by queens, warrior monarchs bred for strategy, dominance, and conquest. When their ships appeared in our skies, humanity learned very quickly how small we were. Entire fleets vanished in seconds. Cities burned without warning. Governments collapsed under panic. I joined the resistance not because I believed we could win, but because doing nothing felt worse. On the day everything changed, we were defending a ruined transit hub. Intelligence said a Carvel landing party was coming through, likely to capture survivors for labor or experimentation. We were outnumbered and under-equipped, but retreat wasn't an option. Civilians were still hiding underground. The first dropships screamed through the smoke-filled sky like metal beasts. Energy weapons lit the air in blue and violet arcs. The ground shook as armored alien soldiers poured out, taller than humans, plated in biometal armor, moving with terrifying precision. I remember fear. I remember pain. But most of all, I remember clarity.
Something in me snapped that day.
Maybe it was desperation, maybe instinct. I stopped thinking like a man trying to survive and started fighting like someone who had already accepted death. I moved through the battlefield without hesitation, taking down enemies far stronger than me, using their own weapons when my ammo ran out. At one point, an alien commander charged me, a towering brute with a plasma blade crackling in his grip. We clashed amid fire and debris. I should have died in seconds. Instead, I didn't. I don't know how long the fight lasted. Seconds, maybe minutes. Time loses meaning in chaos. I remember driving the blade through a gap in his armor and watching his lifeless body collapse. Around me, the battlefield went silent. Then the sky darkened. A massive warship descended, blotting out the sun. It wasn't a dropship, it was a command vessel. I remember thinking, so this is how it ends. A beam of pale light engulfed me. The next thing I knew, I woke up on an alien warship. I came to slowly, my head pounding, my body heavy as if gravity itself had changed. The room around me was smooth and organic, walls curving like the inside of a shell. Dim lights pulsed softly, reacting to my movement. I tried to sit up and realized I wasn't restrained. That scared me more than chains would have. I was wearing unfamiliar armor, molded perfectly to my body, lighter and stronger than anything I'd ever worn. My wounds were gone. Not healed, erased. Before I could process that, the air shifted. She entered without a sound. The alien queen. She was taller than any human, her form both beautiful and terrifying. Her skin shimmered like dark obsidian under starlight, etched with faint glowing patterns. Her eyes, golden, slit like a predator's, locked onto mine with unnerving intensity. I tried to stand. My legs barely cooperated. "Remain," she said. Her voice didn't come through my ears. It echoed directly in my mind. I am Queen Zyreveth, sovereign of the 7th War Armada. Every instinct screamed at me to fight, to run, to die resisting. Instead, I stood there, frozen beneath her gaze. "You fought today," she continued. "You fought as few of your kind ever have." I said nothing. Words felt useless. She circled me slowly, studying me like a weapon laid out on a table. "You killed my commander. You faced my warriors without fear. You adapted. You endured. Her eyes met mine again. That battle changed your fate. I laughed bitterly. So, you abducted me to kill me? No, she replied calmly. I abducted you because you survived. That was when I realized something even more unsettling. This wasn't a prison. It was a selection. Over the next cycle's days, I guessed I learned the truth. The Carvel Empire was at war on multiple fronts. They conquered species, yes, but they also recruited. When a being demonstrated exceptional combat potential, adaptability, or strategic instinct, they were taken, not as slaves, but as assets. Champions. I was given access to training chambers, advanced combat simulations, and knowledge implants that flooded my mind with alien tactics and starship warfare. My body was subtly enhanced, stronger bones, faster reflexes, heightened perception. And always Queen Zyreveth watched. Sometimes in silence. Sometimes questioning me about human warfare, emotions, and loyalty. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't kind either. She was something far more dangerous, curious. One day, during a sparring trial against 3 armored drones, I collapsed, exhausted. She approached, crouching before me. Why do you continue to fight? She asked, even when defeat is certain? I thought of Earth, of burning skies, of people hiding underground. Because if I stop, I said, then everything I've lost means nothing. She studied me for a long moment. You fight not for victory, she said softly, but for meaning. That was the moment I stopped being a prisoner in my own mind. The real test came weeks later. The warship entered battle near a fractured star system. Enemy fleets, another alien empire rivaling the Carvel, ambushed us. Alarms echoed through the living corridors. Crew members moved with disciplined urgency. Queen Zyreveth summoned me to the command chamber. Today, she said, you will fight not as a captive, but as my champion. I was given command over a strike unit, alien warriors who looked at me with wary respect. We boarded assault pods and launched into the chaos of space combat, crashing into an enemy cruiser. What followed was the most brutal fighting of my life. Corridors flooded with energy fire. Gravity failed and returned without warning. I fought side by side with beings who once would have killed me on sight. We adapted.
We survived.
At one critical moment, the enemy detonated a core breach. I ordered my unit to retreat while I stayed behind to manually seal the reactor doors. It was suicide.
But I did it anyway.
I woke up hours later in the med chamber. Queen Zyreveth stood over me. You chose sacrifice, she said, even when survival was possible. I met her gaze. That's what leaders do. For the first time, she smiled. The warship survived the battle, but barely. The enemy fleet retreated. Victory was costly, but decisive. In the aftermath, the queen addressed her armada. I stood at her side, still unsure of my place. You are no longer a captive of the Carvel, she announced, nor merely a champion.
She turned to me.
You are bound to this warship, to this war, to me. Silence filled the chamber. You may refuse, she added. You may return to your world when this conflict ends. I thought of Earth broken, struggling, but alive. I thought of how small one man was against the stars. Then I thought of how one battle had changed everything. If I stay, I asked, can I make a difference? Her eyes burned with something like respect. Yes, she said. You already have. I accepted.